So, welcome to Discover Me podcast. We bring you amazing people doing remarkable things in a very influential way. I'm Brian.
And I'm Lavanna.
And today we have with us Julio Pruitt, husband, father, and former Miami Dolphins wide receiver. Welcome, man.
Welcome.
Thank y'all for having me.
No, we appreciate you taking the time to sit with us and just chat.
For sure. How's the weather where you are? Because you're not in Miami anymore, so you missing that heat.
I mean, it's hot here, and it's one of those things where it's hard for me to get the kids outside because they don't, they think it's so hot, and the heat is unbearable. And it's one of those things where I was like, it was hotter in Miami, but it was like, no, it's a different type of heat over here. It's like a mixture of that dry heat and then still a little bit humid. So it's still taking them time to adjust to this summertime.
So Miami was humid too, right? Or was it not so humid?
Miami was very humid, but it's one of those things where it's hot consistently. So you get used to it. And after a while, it's kind of like, it's just Miami weather. But over here, we got here when it was still cold. And then the kids, they're just having time adjusting to these seasons again,
I know I was in Cocoa Beach for 3 months, man. I feel like that was the hottest time. It was cool. It was cool in like October because it wasn't freezing like it is. But man, that was some heat to me. Sweated all my hats out, everything. So,
but the wintertime is the best time to be in Florida, So
we already said that we live in the DC area, and we were like, man, we got to get back down south because that winter up here is the truth.
Quick.
Yeah, that's what we still have to get used to that down here, like that cold weather because like I said, in Miami, you get hot all year round. And then here in Arkansas, you get all 4 seasons. So it takes time for for me to adjust, get used to it again, and especially my wife and my kids. So
no doubt. So man, let's jump. You got the first one.
Yep. So we just want to start with you telling us who Julius Pruitt is.
I'm originally from Newport, Arkansas. Small town kid, shy guy. That grew up in a big family, and one of those things where like growing up just in that town, that environment, it was one of those things where it took me a while to even figure out who I was, and it's just still one of those ongoing process of me still figuring out who I am as a person, as a man, as a father, as a husband. It's an ongoing process, but it's one of those things where now I feel like I'm getting to really understand who I am as an individual. And it's one of those things where God has put me in a position to kind of to learn how to be the best husband. So that's where I am now. I'm a husband. I'm a father of 4. I'm a role model. I'm a protector, provider, and also, a coach. And not just coaching here at Washington, but a coach to my kids, and a coach to myself. It's just, like I say, it's a daily ongoing process, but it's one of those things where my wife actually has helped me figure out who I am. She's played an influential part in that. And it's one of those things where I'm forever grateful because I know God put her in my life for a reason. And it's just one of those things where without her, I probably would be lost and wouldn't able to be here with y'all today to tell y'all exactly who Julius Pruitt was.
That's what I don't think I've ever heard anybody say coach to kids, man. But that's true. You are a coach to your kids.
They're watching you every day. And it's one of those things where what you say, how you say it, how you go about things, how you interact with people, even at the fast food drive-through window, how you talk to the people through the microphone. They're listening, picking up everything. And they think however daddy and mama says it is how they're supposed to talk and how they're supposed to speak and how they're supposed to treat people. So it's one of those things where you're that's what you are. The second you sign up being a dad, you're a coach, you're a life coach, and you're trying to raise strong individuals who, like I say, it took me time to figure out who I am. And it's one of those things where I'm trying to change that generational curse in a sense to kind of get them to understand who they are as individuals at an early age.
Yes.
I like that.
I love it because it is exactly what like the New Me brand and the Discover Me podcast is all about, is having another opportunity every day to discover who you are, and you get like I said, another opportunity to at life and being able to be a new person every day, work on being a new person every day. So I think you like can totally give exactly exactly what the brand is about, just by what you said in that quick moment that you took to tell us who you are.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So you also, I mean, I know you played sports, you played football. How was your journey? I'm gonna tell you how I remember this, man. I remember watching TV one day. It was Sports Center, and I believe you had a one-hand catch. Was it against? Was it against Henderson?
That was against Henderson.
So that make it even worse or better. You know, I went to Henderson. So even worse. So the one-hand catch.
That was the last game of my collegiate career, you know, in the Battle of Ravine. And that was one of the catches that made sports in the top 10 and kind of gave us that win and actually took the Washita program to the next level after that point, because we started getting more recruits, you know, got that notoriety for Washita, not Henderson, but, you know, Washita.
Right.
You know, it kind of took the program to the next level.
And then,
I'm sorry. My journey, like it was shaky, and it was kind of different than the rest. You know, I was projected to get drafted in the 5th round. And it was one of those things where I retore a ligament in my thumb, like at the All-Star game, the D2 All-Star game. And I also didn't run the 40-yard dash because I was advised by my agent that I had just hired like 2 months prior not to run. And, you know, during those times, you have hundreds of scouts. I would probably never be in front of 100 scouts, you know, here at Washita for my pro day. And it was one of those things, I had an opportunity and I had an obligation to run, but I took the advice of an agent and he told me not to run. So when it came my time to run, I had to stand up in front of all the agents and tell them, hey, my agent advised me not to run. And so after the fact, one of the scouts for the Baltimore Ravens came up to me and was like, why didn't you run? I was like, I was advised not to. And he was like, so you let somebody that you've only known for 2 months advise you against doing something you've been doing your whole life. And it was a fast track, and I'm a natural 4.4 guy. And it was one of those things where had I run, I probably would have went 5th round like I was projected to. But then again, I ended up being, I slipped to being an undrafted free agent. So watching the draft, going undrafted, getting a call from the Dolphins after the draft, asking me if I were signed. But I was like, no, I haven't signed. Nobody's called me. And so they was like, okay, just hang tight. We're probably going to call you back. And so back on campus in Washita, I was in one of my kinesiology classes, and I got the call from the Dolphins again. So I left class. I told my professor, I was like, I have to take this call. I left class, and then they were asking me again, so you still unsigned? Well, we're going to sign you, you know, to our roster. But he was like, I'm just waiting for confirmation from the general manager, and then we'll go from there. So they hung up, and I'm going back in class. I'm like, telling my professor, like, I'm about to get signed. You know, I'm excited. Then I get the call back again, and they told me that they signed another receiver, Brandon Marion he was from Tulsa. So they signed another wide receiver. So I'm like, so where do I go from here? And it was just one of those things where they were just like, keep training, keep working out, and maybe something may come about. So I left class and I went straight home. I went to Newport, and I remember going into my house and my mom like, what's wrong? And I kind of like broke down. I was like, you know, I had an opportunity of a lifetime, and now it's up in the air. Like, I don't know. Like, I mean, I don't know if I'm gonna get that opportunity again. I don't know if, you know, they're gonna call back. I'm just kind of like, I don't know what to do, Mom. And it was just one of those things where she kept telling me, like, just give it to God, put it in his hands, just keep doing what you're doing, baby, and, you know, everything's gonna be all right. But then the next day she's telling me, you might want to go put an application in out here where I work.
That's the mom right there.
Like, once she said that, and then hearing that from a couple other family members, I was like, no, that's exactly what I'm not going to do. I'm not coming back to Newport. I'm not about to work in the factory. I'm not going to the steel mill. I'm not doing any of that. So I started, like, everywhere I went from that time forward, I ran. Like, it was a way to kind of clear my mind, like, kind of just to get away from everything. So if I needed to go to the store, I ran. And whether it's 2, 5 miles, whatever, however the distance, I ran. You know, and it's just one of those things where I eventually got a call back. And then I got a workout with the Dolphins. And it was me and another guy, James Robinson, who was a former CFL guy, who's from a natural 4'2", 4'3" guy, right? He's 6'4", 230. So me and him, we're in the tryout, like, you know, basically going hand in hand in front of the entire coaching staff and the front office personnel. And after the workout, they told me that they were going to sign James. But they told me also that they've never had a workout where 2 guys were so neck and neck And then like I made it hard. But it was one of those things that was like, but he ran a 4.3. He's 6'4", and it was like, what can we do? Like they were trying to find speed, so they end up signing him. And then the same thing, like I had to pack up, head back to Newport, and it's like, did I just just miss another opportunity? And so, the same thing. I get back home, I'm running everywhere. I'm staying at it, staying committed to it, steady, not listening to my family telling me to go get a job and do this and this and that. And then September 7th, I finally get a call from Brian Gain, the player personnel director for the Dolphins, and he offered me a position on the practice squad. Mind you, I didn't have to go through training camp, none of the mini camps, nothing. Like right when the season was starting, I got the call to be on practice squad. And so September 7th, he was asking me, he said, how soon can you get here? I was like, I can leave tonight. And from that moment forward, I've been in Miami,
Wow. It's crazy. So what was the window of time between like the draft and then you actually getting there?
It was because the draft was what, March. The trial was in April. And then let me see. No, the draft was in March. I believe, yeah, the draft was in March. And then so it was March, April, May, June, July. So it's basically from March, and I didn't get the final call until September. So it was all those months in between of kind of just working out, grinding, running everywhere. Like you kind of, just staying at it, staying committed and trying to stay focused on the goal, trying to stay focused on the goal. And so, and like, obviously I left school because it was one of those things where I didn't, I just I couldn't focus. And it was just one of those things where the opportunity was so rich and so not even rich, just one of those things. It was the opportunity of a lifetime. And even, Coach Knight had, advised me to, because once I had signed up to be in the draft, kind of schooling was out the window anyway, and so, but I did, I'm jumping way ahead, but I did finish here in May 8th, 2020. I finally finished my degree. So I went back and finished what I left behind. But at that time, I left it all behind to chase something that I really, really wanted.
That was going to be I'm sorry, go ahead.
No.
That was going to be my question. Did you put school on ice? And you said you did, but how far into school were you when you put it on ice to pursue the NFL?
I had 16 hours left. So basically just one semester. Yeah.
Okay.
One semester. Yeah. And so it took me from 2011 years with just 16 hours to finally finish it up this past year.
Finished.
Yeah.
But you finished.
But I finished.
Yeah. Okay.
So, and your schedule was probably crazy with the team anyway. Like there's probably no way you could have finished while you were actually playing.
They have a lot of programs that kind of allow you to do it, but it was one of those things as a practice squad guy, like I felt like, and especially at Washington, I had to be on campus to finish, so it would be leaving Miami to going back on campus to, try and finish. And I actually tried to do it in 2012 during the NFL lockout when we couldn't be around the facility anyway, but they ended the lockout when I was kind of halfway through a semester. So I had to make a choice again in 2012 to decide, okay, do I keep chasing my schooling now that I'm here, or do I go back to try to chase this roster spot again? Because I felt like I wasn't in a position to stay away. I had no guaranteed millions. I wasn't a draft pick, and I'm just trying to stake my claim, make my name, and kind of be irreplaceable and not give them a reason to release me. So I made that choice again to leave halfway through the semester just to get back here, just to get back to Miami to kind of finish what I started, finish the dream.
So what's it like? On the practice squad anyway? What was that like for you playing around? I know you played with Brent. I remember Brandon Marshall was there for sure.
He got there that 2012, like after the lockout. That's when I met Brandon. But when I first got there, you were only allowed 8 guys on the practice squad. The salary was $5,700 a week. but it's also one of those things where you have the responsibility and duties to give the first team defense the best look possible. So you're technically on the team. It's just one of those things where your obligation is to, be a scout team guy.
Gotcha.
But at the same time, if somebody at your position goes down, you're next man up.
And you did move up. I remember you did get signed to the actual the roster at one point, right?
Yeah. In 2010, they signed me at the last game of the season, and then 2011, I was signed to the active roster, and I played 9 games.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember that. Okay.
Yeah.
So what would you say? I'm stealing your question too. What's the biggest, like, what life lessons did you learn, like, while playing for the Dolphins?
Loyalty.
Okay.
It was one of those things where it was in 3 different aspects. Loyalty, because like the second you make it to the NFL, like your entire family thinks you're a millionaire.
Yeah.
And you kind of figure out who's in your corner, who's not in your corner, who has your best interest in heart, and who doesn't. And so, like, a lot of my family members, I felt, were the quickest ones to push me to the side. Like the second, because when I first got there, I was trying to buy everybody's appreciation, buy everybody's respect, and like, can you pay this? Can you pay this? Yeah, of course. And it's one of those things where I wasn't doing myself any justice because I wasn't saving the way I needed to save. I didn't know how long that was going to last, but at the same time, my family had, I grew up with a lot of people, and a lot of people kind of had a role somewhat in my life growing up. So it's one of those things where just me trying to pay my appreciation, I'm trying to give and give and give. But the second, it came to the point, like my second and third year, it's like, no. And then a lot of people fell off from me. They bagged away. Oh, he's this, he's that. And, and in a sense, it was like, wow, and like you really find out who's in your corner and who's there for you through thick and thin. And then also when it comes to like just the football side of it, like my agent, like the one that I started off with, the one that advised me not to run. Well, the second I got the opportunity to switch agents, I actually went to Drew Rosenhaus, who, you see him on TV with Terrell Owens and things like that. So they came to me my second year wanting to sign me. So I switched agents. But there was also something I probably should have did. I probably should have stayed loyal to the guy that kind of helped me get there, regardless of his bad advice, regardless of anything, because that was the one thing that I learned from Joey Porter. Because he was one of the first people that, he's frat.
And I was just about to say that.
People, yeah, he's frat, and is one of the first people that took me in when I first got there my rookie year. And I remember his agent telling me one night, he was like, the one thing about Joey is he's loyal. Like, through thick and thin, they bump heads, they've gone through so many different situations and scenarios, but Joey always stayed loyal to him. And his agent had told me, he was like, loyalty in this game will take you a long way. But I made that choice to switch agents, and Drew represented 3 other receivers on that team that I was on, a plethora of defensive players. And I felt like as it was going on, I realized he was just trying to weed me out the way. He didn't really have my best interests at heart. Like behind the scenes, he was kind of pushing more of his other guys and trying to get me out the way. So it wasn't things where he wanted me to sign because he saw my potential and things like that. He was like, nah, this he's about to take some of my guys' spot. So I gotta jump in and kind of, get him out the way before he, messes up some of my draft picks and things like that. So I found out loyalty in that sense. And then also I had an opportunity to, after that 9 games I played, I had an opportunity to take a visit to Buffalo for the Bills and things like. I had an opportunity to sign with somebody else, but I chose to stay there with the Dolphins. I decided to take a contract offer from them because they were the only team to show me love after the draft. They were the only team to pick up the phone and call me. So I decided to ride with the Dolphins thick and thin. But in reality, I probably should have looked at those other opportunities. Maybe there was something more out there, but I chose to stick with the team that, through it all, like they were the only ones that had any kind of communication with me. And so eventually they took care of me. I became alumni. They helped me invest, in And like they took money from my paychecks to help me invest in my future and things like that. They kind of set me up, and now I'm Miami Dolphin alumni, and I'm still a part of the team in a sense. So loyalty from family, loyalty, agent wise, and then loyalty just with the team in general.
I always read. I read that I guess the Dolphin receiver core is something serious too, right?
Right
like,
now,
not like when you were there, like I was reading, I actually followed it all the time, and I was like, man, look like they got a true brotherhood going on there.
No, we did. We were close. Like me, Devon. Like I still talk to Devon Best and Marlon Moore. Right now. Like, and there was two guys that were there, but like Brian Hartline. And then when we got Brandon Marshall there, and then even we had Chad Johnson for a little minute. But like the guys that I was there with, like those 3 years, which was Devon, Brian, Marlon, Roberto. Like we're still pretty close in a sense, and it was just one of those things where it was no really. Even though we had to compete.
Right.
We all wanted what's best for each other. We all helped out each other. We critiqued each other. We kind of told the other what they were doing wrong. We helped each other. It was really like a little brotherhood. Like you get me? Like that was the only people I hung with after, when we weren't in the facility. Those are my brothers, and Devon is actually the godfather to my daughter, Leilani. Marlon, he was in my wedding. It's just one of those things where we grew a bond. And regardless of football, like, we still have that fellowship, that brotherhood, off the field.
Oh,
I love it. It sounds like I understand that you said loyalty was like the biggest thing life lesson that you learned, but it sounds like this experience, like you said, one is rare for anyone to have this experience, but it really feels like you took this experience by the horns and took everything that you could from that experience to grow in life, in a man, for yourself.
Yeah, and I did. And it's one of those things where, because I've been away from home. I always tell my mom, like, Mom, like I've been away since the second I went to Washington. I've kind of been away. Like I pop up, every now and again, like, to see y'all and and try to indulge in family. And even though in a way, get treated a certain type of way, not by my mom, my dad, and them, but, just family in general. And, it's plenty of reasons to stay away. But like I've been on my own. And kind of, made decisions, like kind of what, just God's been leading my path. He's been leading my way. And it's one of those things where I never regret any decision I made. I've always learned from it. I've grew from it. And it seems as though that each decision has put me in a better position to kind of understand myself, but also get me to realize that, certain things that I didn't need in my life. And there's certain people I didn't need in my life, but there's also certain people that I needed to gravitate more to and learn from, and just their experience in general.
So talk to us about your transition from the NFL.
That was hard. Like the transition, it was pretty tough. And I think I would speak for the thousands of players, because I've actually gone to a thing called the NFL Bridge to Success. And it's one of those things where you think you're going through a transition like alone, but the second you get around a group of individuals that's been in your situation, and you see that everybody's kind of hurting in a sense, because it's mentally draining, because you're so used to routine. You're so used to schedules. You're so used to someone critiquing your every move and getting graded on it in a sense. So you know what to get better at, what to improve on. But once you're not there, you have to kind of critique yourself, especially if you don't have anybody in your corner to do those things for you. Yeah. And it was just one of those things where it put me in a dark place. Like, even though I was, we had a growing family, and it was just one of those things. It was dark. I would just say my transition, it was very dark. But it was one of those things, without the love and support of my wife, man, like I don't know where I would be. Mm-hmm. And it's one of those things where she helped me realize on a daily basis, like, that I am somebody. She made me feel special. She showed like this, the love, the support. It was just always genuine and unconditional. And it was just one of those things where she picked me up. She allowed me to get to the point where I was able to love football again, because I wanted to stay away from the game in itself. The Dolphins would always try to get me to come back to be around, but it's one of those things I was like, nah, I didn't want no part of it. But after, a few years of kind of just figuring out who I was, and kind of my wife beat me up with the side of the head, kind of like wake up, it was just one of those things where it just clicked. It was like, I don't want to keep my kids away from the game that taught me so much and gave me so much. And, so now I can enjoy it again, and I enjoy it with them, able to experience certain experiences with them and show them where daddy used to play and things like that. Because to them, I'm LeBron. To them, I'm Jordan. Like, they don't know anybody else but Julio Pruitt. Like, that's like I'm their hero. Like, and to see that and to kind of go through this life with them and my wife, man, it's been so much enjoyable. Once I got out of that dark place and back into the light.
Yes.
So what that's definitely like inspirational. How do you you have boys and girls, or mostly boys, or
1 girl and 3 boys.
Wow.
Okay.
So 8, 7, 5, and 3.
So you got some, because we got all girls. We got 4 girls. So
What age?
We got 15, 10, 8, and 5.
Wow.
So so we ain't got no football player. That's why I was going to ask you, either of your sons into football?
They're all into it, but they all have their individual, like they like golf, they like tennis. And one my oldest, he loves Legos. Like he wants to be like an engineer or architect, because especially what I do now, I'm an estimator. And so a lot of the plans are like architectural and stuff. It's like buildings and things like that. So like, that's just the type of stuff he's into. But the second I take him out to the practice field and we're running ladders and stuff, he's into it. Like, it's something he want to do because he's seen his daddy do it. But at the same time, he has his own mind,
Right.
And it's one of those things where I'll never force him into it, especially the way football is now, with the head injuries and things like that. I wouldn't want them to take on the game until they were ready, especially since they're into golf and tennis and, things like that. Well, yeah, let's go do that.
Yeah.
But they definitely, they enjoy sports, like, but it's one of those things where they enjoy it as long as I enjoy it. If I'm not enjoying it, they can care less.
Well, then I'm gonna need you to keep enjoying it then.
And I'm trying to. Like, I'm trying to.
For them, I'm gonna need you to do that.
That's true.
I want to go back and just acknowledge the transition that the NFL have for players. I think that's absolutely amazing, that there is that type of transition. I know there are a lot of professions that have transitions where there is a stop to a career. And I'll just use an example of the military. There is a stop, and we know it. And it's just like the NFL, like, you all know that there's a stop. So I am very happy to hear that they invest in your transition, because I can only imagine that would be hard, something that you've invested so much time, your physical time into, that I would hope that would be a really good program that would really help you as you transition into the next in life.
And they do a very good job. And that was, they even paid for my schooling to go back to school. Like, it's one of those things where they have so many resources, but it's up to you as a player to reach out and get those resources. Like, they tell you about it, and a lot of players kind of push it to the side, not thinking that they're going to need it. But it's one of those things where they have everything. Like, you can get free counseling sessions, like, go speak to a psychiatrist and things like that, for not just you, but for your family. Like, if your kids want to sit down and speak to somebody, your wife want to speak, or as a couple, they have that. They have, like I said, the take you back to school. If you have a business or something that you're trying to get off the ground, they have resources in that aspect. Like, it's unlimited. Like, they have an unlimited amount of resources, like even job programs. Like, even now, if I wanted to get back into the NFL as a scout or just on staff, they have it's like a minority internship type thing where they'll put you in place to be like, you have 5 choices, 5 teams to, that you would want to be a part of, and they can kind of put you in the door in a sense. Like they have so many avenues, so many ways to get your foot in the door, and like to keep you from being in a dark place.
Yeah.
But it's up to that player ultimately to get to that point with themselves to kind of want to reach out and to gain those resources, for themselves. But like I say, a lot of players, they don't want to, because they're still going through that transition, and they don't necessarily want to, because like you say, they're giving so much to the game. And once it's done, it's hard, and a lot of players deal with certain things differently. We're not all wired the same.
Yeah.
And, it takes a while. It takes a while.
I never heard of those programs either before. It's good to know.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely amazing. Just the physical and the mental, the emotional, like I can only imagine, but I am glad to know that.
It's not one of those things that the media, like, how the media is, they show you everything else, but you never hear about this stuff. So
no, and they don't. Like, you can get brain and body assessments, like it's free. Like, you want to think, you can go check out your mental, you can go check out everything in your body. Like every year at each Super Bowl, they have they'll rent out a hotel space, and then you can go get full body checkups for you and your spouse. Like, you get me? Like, your spouse will get the blood work, everything to see exactly what's going on with her. And then while we're at the same time as men, like, we're getting the heart checkup, we're getting the eyes checked out, the ears, the joints, like everything. Like they do everything to kind of put you in that position to kind of to succeed. They don't want they don't want anybody to kind of fail at life, in a sense, especially after they've been in the care of the NFL. They want to take care of the players. But like I say, it's up to the player to reach out, the player to kind of want to. But a lot of times the players aren't in a position mentally to kind of even want to get back to that point. But it's up to the player.
What was you said they paid for you to go back to school? What was that? Is it like a scholarship, or how does that work?
It's called the Trust Scholarship. And it's one of those things where like you have to go register and get enrolled in school. And then you also have to it's like a three-part process where you do the enrollment part, you submit all the paperwork, and then you also have to write an essay of what you want to do for your future. What is the degree? I mean, what is going back to school, getting your degree, what is it going to do for you and your future? And it's one of the things, once you, if you get accepted, if your essay is kind of up to par, up to standard, you get rewarded the scholarship for whatever amount it is, and any vocational school, masters, whatever it is, like they take care of it.
So speaking of that, so you do coaching right now. What is it that you do right now?
Right now, I'm a chief officer and estimator for a plastering company out of South Florida. It's called J&M Plastering, and I'm here volunteering at Washington as a tight ends coach. But coach, I'm really not volunteering anymore because I've been here in the spring, and he's trying to put me on staff. But it's just one of those things where the staff is full because they're winning. No coaches really want to leave, and so he told me at the end of spring ball, he was like, "There's no way I can kind of pay you for what you're worth," because he want to take care of me. He wants to compensate me well, but at the same time, it's Division II school. They're still on the budget. So, it's kind of just one of those life choices that I made, since I'm in a kind of position, not, where financially, like, we're good in a sense where I'm still have my job and I can come do the one thing that I love, and that's coach football. So I'm kind of being able to do both things right now.
So your job is like, you working virtually right now, or?
Yeah, virtually.
I know you ain't going back and forth, man. That's a trip.
No. That's an 18-hour. That's a drive that I don't want to do again, because once we move, because we only been here in Arkansas for 5 months, and that drive took us 2 days because we had a U-Haul and we're towing apart, and with kids and a dog, and so it's it was a strenuous drive, but
you gotta tell me, we just did the trip from up here to Arkansas. It was 18 hours, like
that's
1,300 miles or something. It was crazy.
That's man.
So,
yeah. I'd rather fly, but not going back and forth. We just came back. Like I said, we went to Orlando. We met up with my mother and father-in-law. We spent a little time in Orlando, but it's a trip that, it's no back and forth. It's once every blue moon.
I feel you.
Okay.
Orlando's nice too. We went to Orlando. We've been to Orlando a few times.
Yeah.
It's nice. Kiss the right time of year. We went down there for Disney. It was like August. Wrong time of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the wrong time of the year,
Wrong
though.
time.
We
The
figured
kids were
that
all
out quick.
complaining, talking about they were sweaty, hot. Like, man, we just spent all this money. Y'all about to ride these rides.
That's why kids don't like Disney, because we usually go in the summertime. Like, I don't want to go see Mickey.
Right.
I want to go to the water park. They'd rather go to the water park.
Oh, they push Mickey to the side.
Push Mickey to the side. I don't want to see the castle.
Right. So, all right. So at this point in the show, man, we like to play this game called Quick Six. So we're gonna ask you 6 questions, and then you respond with the first thing that comes to mind.
All right.
Okay. So vacation, Europe or Asia?
Europe.
We're talking about watching. Would you rather watch the NCAA or NFL game?
NFL game.
Fly or drive?
All right. Dog or cat?
Dog.
PlayStation or Xbox?
Xbox.
What you play on Xbox, man?
I haven't. Team Sonic Racing.
Oh, I think the kids like Sonic.
Yeah, that's what the kids. Yeah.
I'm like, I will play that with the kids.
Yeah, I don't get a chance to play Madden no more. It's Team Sonic Racing.
All right, last one. Coaching or playing?
Coaching. It's one of those things where after playing the game, it's like it was enjoyable. I loved it, but it's like the reward of coaching, like you telling them, like especially now, you can tell the players something that you've learned, and just to see them do it, it's just something about it's just that reward, that gratification of seeing somebody put what you're saying like into play, and it's a feeling that I don't even know how to describe it. Like it's an amazing feeling. Like I love coaching, and like to see my players succeed, in a sense where they're trying to get to a certain level that I've reached, but at the same time, the way that they push themselves and take coaching and just they latch on to every little thing that you say. It's so enjoyable.
I bet, man. So and speaking of coaching, what's that one piece of advice that you like? Everybody's got that one thing that they hone in on when coaching. What's that one piece of advice that you like to give young players when it comes to improving their skills? Attention
to detail. The little details matters. Like I have a tight end who I told him like every day during spring ball was like, before practice, I want you to bring me a list of 10 things that you want to get better at throughout practice. And each practice, I have a notebook of his 10 things. Like he brought me literally 10 things that he wanted to get better at in practice. And every water break, I'm going up to him, reading him the 10 things. Like, hey, you said this. So it's one of those things where he's focusing in on those things throughout practice. And from the day that I got to him to the end of spring ball, man, he was so much better. Like he's a monster, but it's one of those things where when you have somebody constantly reminding you of just the little fundamentals, the little details, the things that once you get tired, you forget about, you embrace it. You enjoy just the sucky part of practice, the sucky part of practice. Like you forget about the heat. Is just one of those things where it's like, okay, hand placement, footwork, this first step, like just little things, little details. And it's one of those things where like details matter. They matter. For sure, they do. It's kind of like you're like a mentor and a coach. We got some people that just coach, like it's just a job. I mean, and some like some coaches, like they enjoy that whistle. And it's one of those things where you're blowing the whistle and you're kind of screaming, yelling, and sometimes it's unnecessary. It's and some players they feel that. It's like you just, you in a position of power, you just yelling for no reason. But it's one of those things, once they feel you and they kind of, they know that you care. Players know when you care. Right. They know when you're just blowing smoke, just telling them what to do. And it's one of those things where I always tell my players, I'll never ask you to do anything that I'm not willing to do myself. So we're in the weight room, we're pushing, I jump in there with them. It's like, I'm not just telling you to do this, I'll do it with you. The running part, like he's just not telling you to run, like I'll do it with you. And it's one of those things, even on the field, I'll jump in there, I don't have pads on, but I will do it with you. I'm not going to ask you to do anything that's not going to benefit you, that I wouldn't be willing to do myself. And and players, they take heed to that. They appreciate that. And it's one of those things where I know, like, just the time that I've been here at Washington, like, my players, they grind harder because they feel like they have a coach that has their back, that's been in their shoes, that's been in that situation. And also, I've been to a place that they really want to be. So it's one of those things where they know I'm not blowing smoke. They know I'm not telling them anything that, like I said, I wouldn't do for myself. They know I'm being real with them.
I think back to when I was a young athlete in high school and how important a coach is to a child. So I can, just listening to you, it sounds like you are someone that these kids will remember when they are adults and will think back to Coach Pruitt pushing me and giving me the necessary tools, not just for on the field, but those tools for life as well. So you continue to be that coach that those kids will remember and can apply some life principles back to as they journey through life.
I'm trying to. That's the goal, because I was told that same thing too. You will always remember that one coach that kind of pushed you and kind of made you feel like, you were important.
Yeah. And that you can do anything.
Anything. That's right. Yeah. Anything.
Yeah. So, man, hey, we just want to thank you for joining us today. Yes. Man, this was good.
Enjoyable. Yes.
I appreciate y'all for having me. Like, I enjoyed this.
I feel like I learned a lot about the NFL.
Yeah.
And I actually watch it too. I watch more college football, so I'm all about the Razorbacks, and then she all about two Alabama teams. By the way, so she like Auburn and Alabama.
Really? I like that work?
It doesn't work. It's like in Arkansas and LSU.
No, okay. First off, that's like two different.
No, that's what it's like.
You just Alabama all the way. That's really what it is. It's like, no, right?
I am. So, and yes, I love my home state, and any long as we keep the championship in our state, I am good. I grew up with all the rival stuff, and I don't get into it. We should just be happy that we keep the championship within the state. And then if Alabama and Auburn don't take, the championship, hey, let it stay in the SEC. I'll give it to the rest of them then. But
it's Washington or nothing for me. So.
But no, man, I always give her a hard time.
All the time. He act like he's never heard this before.
Never heard of it. Never. So, hey, so again, man, thanks for joining us. We're gonna have to get you one of these Same Guy Knew Me shirts up there too, man.
Yeah, and hey, I was just about to say, hey, I feel like a new me. I need one of them shirts.
Oh, yeah, you represent very well. Like everything today is all about the brand. So yes.
We'll get you one. Hopefully we'll get you back on here again one day. We know you're gonna keep doing big things, man.
Hopefully next time me and my wife get to sit down with y'all, we kind of do a, do it together then.
I would love to, because I want to know like what that's like. We would love to know what it's like just going through all that together. And we're big on family. So you talked a lot about your family, your wife, your kids. That's pretty much what we do.
Yeah, it's about the family. Yeah. Like you have created one life and you have to walk through it together. So I love that you spoke highly of your wife. I cannot wait to meet her because I think that's amazing that you can do that for a man and really stick beside them throughout your husband, stick beside them throughout the good and the bad. And that was a perfect example of the good and the bad.
Yeah, yes. She definitely has been.
Yes.
Cool, man. So we'll definitely try to get y'all back on here. Both of y'all.
Yes.
And we'll get you a shirt. And
next time we are in Arkansas, link up.
Yeah, definitely. That's a lot. Look, my grandpa just asked me when we come back. I was like, I don't know, Grandpa. That's a long drive.
It is.
So, man, take care, man. We don't want to hold you on forever. Take care. Look forward to talking to you and your wife.
Yes.
Hopefully your kids get used to that Arkansas weather pretty soon.
Trying to. But again, I appreciate y'all. God bless y'all. And look forward to talking to y'all soon.
Man. All right. Take care.
All right. Take care.